Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of December 26th through January 1st of 2023. All right, so this week we have Mercury retrograde. So Mercury's going to go retrograde here on Thursday, and that's going to be starting a 3-week process of redoing things, rethinking things, and experimenting. It's always a good time to experiment, try new things, and just be a bit flexible during the retrograde. Mercury rules things like our communications, our correspondences, our day-to-day routines. And so good to start to experiment and adapt with those kinds of things. Maybe a bit of pause with those matters here around Thursday. Now this week we are going to be in the first quarter moon of the lunar cycle, which means that we had a new moon last week around Friday. And so coming into this week is still a bit early in the lunar cycle. We're just building some momentum. But as we get to the later part, probably around Friday, Saturday, it will be where we've come to our first challenges of the cycle. At least it's good to challenge ourselves to implement and integrate things for this lunar month. A lot of it is about Sagittarius. It's about expanding our horizons, being open-minded, and connecting to a little bit more of that spirit for life. I think that'll be a good way to do that. So with this, Mercury and Venus are going to be very close this week while Mercury goes retrograde. So maybe some things to learn about relationships and also to maybe do some communication or sharing in those relationships as well. And those relationships and even our values fundamentally are going through a transformation this week. On Saturday and Sunday, Venus will go over transformative Pluto. And so there's a rebirth happening with those values and relationships we'll talk more about. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, December 26th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. So if you do notice some of the signs are different, like they're not, like for example, this new moon in Sagittarius, definitely check out the link down below for more information on true sidereal astrology. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a recap here. We still have a lot of planets in Sag. That's where they're going to be still for the whole week. The Sun, Venus, and Mercury here. It's a great time to be focused on expanding our mental and literal horizons, to be a bit open-minded, to be maybe more in the abstract worlds, to see possibilities, potentials, and maybe get involved with Sagittarius types of things, like a little bit of adventure, or travel, or discussing philosophies or views of life. Okay, this is definitely the theme and still really good to do. Mars is still retrograde in Taurus until mid-January, and so it is good to still be taking things slowly and steadily with Mars and Taurus, and maybe re-examining what our needs are, what motivates us, who we are, and what we want there with that retrograde still going on, which has been the case since late October. All right, but yeah, the most important thing this week is that we are just starting this new lunar month, which did just start last Friday. And so things are just slowly building momentum, and it's a great time to come into the week planting some new seeds, right? Just getting things started. But things are still again shifting. We're going to have that Mercury retrograde I'll talk a little bit more about. So while things are, a new beginning and moving forward, it's good definitely to see it as a good time to experiment and be flexible, especially that second half of the week after that retrograde. But let's take a look here at Monday. So Monday we do have the moon finishing Capricorn, where the moon was on Sunday. And so anything on Monday about responsibilities, taking care of things, maybe even a little bit of productive energy could be good there with that transit. Once we get to Tuesday and the first half of Wednesday, the moon will be in progressive Aquarius, so it could be good for a little bit of that visionary energy, challenging the status quo a little bit, maybe our own status quo a little bit, with that future-minded visionary energy of Aquarius. And it's also around this Tuesday and Wednesday time period, we just have a slight opening with Venus. Venus, again, the planet of our values and relationships, is in a good harmony with receptive Neptune. We could be maybe just a little bit easygoing or a little bit more willing to go with the flow and enjoy those kinds of receptive energies of life. So just an opening for that, just available that we can choose or choose not to work with there that Tuesday, Wednesday time period. But Wednesday is where we really do start to feel that station Mercury. Again, Mercury's slowing down, so it means a lot of those mental activities, a lot of the correspondence or communications, and even the routines are just kind of starting to pause. At least it's really good to do that, especially around the Wednesday, Thursday, just kind of pause with the day-to-day stuff. Notice that things are starting to shift direction, and it's really good to then start these next few weeks of reworking things, right? What are the normal things we think about? What's our normal perception on things? What is the mental constructs we rely on a day-to-day basis that now is good to change, to look at differently, to rework? And even those external things like our routines and stuff, good to rework as well. So just a good time to be flexible. It's a great time to do things, especially after Mercury's station, but with, again, flexibility, to have a plan A, B, C, and D, to be adaptive, to change. It's a great way of working with the retrogrades. We do learn a lot during these retrograde time periods, especially now with Mars retrograde as well. All right, so that is Mercury going station there on Thursday. Now, when he does that, he's going to be very close to Venus. And so we have this other conjunction. We had this a few weeks ago, actually, now that Mercury slowed down, Venus is caught up again. But it's just a bit of a connection here between our minds and with relationships. And so it could be good for, again, a new understanding of our values, and vice versa, maybe discussing some things in our relationships, just a little bit of that more mental or cerebral connection in our relationships, and really just enjoying a little bit more of that, and then bringing the cerebral intellectual side to our values. So we could be learning what our values are, maybe some relationship energy, things like that. So that's here around the middle part of the week, around Thursday. But all these values and relationship energies are going through their yearly transformation. Now that Venus is going to be going over Pluto, they're going to be conjoining here on Saturday and Sunday. And so there really is a rebirth here, emerging when it comes to those things, values and relationships. So it's good to allow for non-attachment, allow for the death, spiritually and metaphorically speaking, of those things in our life, what we enjoy and our relationships. And that allows for the rebirth, right? The transformation process. Pluto is all about the death and new beginnings, the phoenix rising up out of the ashes, and so allowing for this sort of process. Really, I'd say this whole later part of the week, but especially Saturday and Sunday, okay? And that weekend, we are going to have the moon in Pisces here, so really as early as that late Wednesday, but late Wednesday all the way through early Saturday. So late Wednesday until early Saturday, we're going to have the moon in Pisces, which is that receptive energy. How can we go a little more with the flow and be receptive? And again, this is the first quarter moon, so it's the challenge. As we were saying, we're coming to our first challenges this middle to later part of the week. It's later part of the week with the lunar cycle. And the challenge is how can we be open-minded and free-spirited of Sagittarius, but also willing to go with the flow and live presently and be receptive. Anything that does combine that fire for life, that spirit for life, as well as the water for life, or the willingness to flow in life, I think is a great way of working with this square, with the first quarter moon, and can be, again, a very constructive weekend and even into next week for those types of matters, okay? But again, then that death and rebirth with values and relationships, Saturday and Sunday, and it's late Saturday and all day Sunday that the moon will be in Aries, and so there could be some themes around taking initiative with things and cultivating a bit of that more action-oriented or initiating side of ourselves. All right, everyone, so that's the week in a nutshell. Put simply is that we are just starting a new lunar cycle coming into this week with the understanding that Mercury is about to go retrograde, right? And so he's going to go retrograde here around Wednesday, Thursday for his next 3 weeks. And so good to pause this middle part of the week, start to reflect on things, maybe approach things a little bit differently, and expect a little bit of needing to be flexible and learning and experimenting during the retrograde. A lot of it has to start with maybe understanding of our values and some relationship energy, understanding, and maybe just enjoying a bit of that communication in our lives as well. And then those values and relationships are going through a transformation over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, with Venus passing over Pluto. and where we can challenge ourselves to integrate the energies of this lunar cycle, to integrate these very different energies of free-spirited Sag with receptive Pisces. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube. There's a link to sign up down below for that. Again, have a great one, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.